All right, I'm Kenny. I'm a co-founder and COO of Poda Foods, and like they mentioned, we grow crickets for human consumption. Crickets are an exciting new source of protein, and I'll get a little more into that. So this is what industrial meat production looks like today. Dirty, big, requires a lot of space, a lot of resources. About over 30% of the world's land is dedicated to specifically rearing animals, and over half the world's water resources, freshwater resources, are being used to raise land animals. So crickets are an exciting alternative to that. We'll do a quick comparison to beef here. To produce the same single pound of protein, beef requires over 15 times more feed and almost 100 times more water to produce a single pound of protein. So crickets are an exciting, sustainable source of protein, and they also require dramatically less land. So what we're looking at is not only is it a more sustainable source of protein, but it's also more nutritious. We've got a lot of exciting, this is the comparison in the percentage of protein. Cricket protein is almost twice as more dense in terms of protein per pound of flesh compared to these other sources, particularly beef. It's also a complete protein source containing all the essential amino acids that your body requires, 2 times more protein than spinach, large amounts of calcium, magnesium, and other nutrients. And you can eat it in a number of exciting ways. You don't just have to have a steak. You can also have, yeah, cricket fillet, I think, is what they're working on making right now, cricket patties. But it's being processed into a powder, which is something that we do, and it's being used in a lot of cookies, crackers, chips, bars, protein shakes, you name it, there's a way to eat it in terms of cricket powder. So that's what's really exciting about our product. So cricket farming, it takes about 8 weeks to get a cricket from its egg to a fully grown adult that we can harvest and use for powder. Compare that to a beef cattle, which takes almost 2 years to get to age. You know, we're operating on a much faster life cycle, so we can produce a lot more protein in a single amount of space in a year compared to beef and other protein sources that we're using. We feed them an organic feed that's a lot similar to chicken feed, mostly grain-based, that keeps it clean and happy. We harvest the crickets by freezing them. It puts them to sleep, and if you keep them frozen for a little while, they just don't wake up. It's pretty humane. I'd be happy to go out that way. Currently we then roast them and grind them, and this is sort of where our food processing technology side comes in. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we hope to change this process to make it more efficient and to improve the quality of our product. So right now, like I said, we roast them at a low temperature for about an hour, which extracts the moisture and allows us to turn them into this protein powder that we can then use into these shakes, bars, different things like that. So what we're looking to do is apply a technology that's currently being used in dairy processing and egg processing, if you've ever had powdered milk. This is a process called spray drying, where they take the liquid, they spray it, and that spray is applied to a heated drum, where that spray hits the drum and is immediately turned into a powderized solid. Sinks to the bottom, and you have this fine powder remaining left over. And so that's what we're trying to do with crickets. Here's a little bit of an overview of the process. You take this solvent, so we blend up the crickets into a liquid, add water to make it a little bit of a more, to improve the ratio of liquid to solid, make it more liquid, and then you spray it, hits the side of the drum, the drying chamber, turns into powder, and then we get a finer powder at the end. So the reason we're interested in this is to improve our product quality. A lot of the customers on the market right now are dealing with a really inconsistent product base. So there's a lot of different companies doing this, and a lot of them are simply blending up crickets. You know, there's little bits of antenna, it's not quite, you know, it's getting clumpy, all sorts of nasty stuff, and no consistency in the product. And so what we're trying to do is improve that quality, make sure that, you know, as we apply it to this spray drying process, we're gonna get this perfectly fine powder coming out at the end. The process also allows us to make it water soluble. By extracting some of the fats as we blend it, we can make it so that when you have the final powder product, it'll mix right into your protein shake at the end of the day. Which right now, crickets have a high fat content, and so it's really hard to make that powder soluble by just roasting and grinding it, as we're doing right now. It also helps us reduce our processing time. We have to handle the crickets less, leading to less waste. And it gives us a new side stream product, hopefully, of making a supplement out of the extracted oils, which are high in omega-3, omega-6, omega-9 fatty acids, which are something that people go spend lots of money on hemp oil and fish oil and things like that at the supermarket for. So we're hoping to get into that as well. We're excited about the potential of crickets, not only for human food, but also for feed for other animals, the animals that we eat, the animals that we care about and hang out with. Is this a better mic? Oh, it sounds better. Oh, wow. There's a great opportunity for crickets to be applied to pet food. Fido would love a cricket, I promise. And like I mentioned, the supplement industry. So yeah, ask away.
How much crap is still getting a cricket when you
Yeah, that's a great question. So in part of our rearing process, we actually fast them for the last 24 hours of their life so that they're empty. So 0. No, none. Yeah?
So I'm guessing there's like a big growth factor that you guys have to get over.
Yeah.
So part of my question is, how do you address that? And I'm guessing there are cultures that don't feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Thailand is sort of known as the cricket capital of the world right now. Their government actually put a lot of money into cricket agriculture and sort of marketing and branding and getting crickets out into their economy. As far as, but there, so this will be the comparison. There, they just eat it whole and roast it, just like chips on the street. It's a street food. And so now here we're trying to apply it to the Western diet, and so doing this processing, turning it into a powder that's then added to chips and crackers and different things that are really familiar in the Western diet, but you have no idea you're tasting a cricket. Like I could sample cricket protein bars and nobody would know unless I told them that they had a cricket by the end, you know. Yeah, Penny?
Well, thank you. It's like we know each other.
Yeah, you're famous already. So.
Okay, so this is, you're young. How in the world did you think of getting into this? Why did you do it, and how big do you want your company to grow in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so Yesenia, my business partner back there, her mother is from Oaxaca, Mexico, and Yesenia went back on a trip, and in Oaxaca they eat chapulines, which is a grasshopper, which are very similar to a cricket, just that their wings are functional and they can fly. And we started to do research about insects as a Western food product and started to notice that people were starting to grow crickets and starting all these businesses around crickets, and we were excited by the sort of ecological impacts of crickets and the social justice impacts of if we can get cricket agriculture scaled up and we can improve it. You know, we're starting from a place where it's this exothermic creature that's cold-blooded, requires far less inputs as far as food, land, and water are concerned. And there hasn't been that level of innovation that we've had with other land animals. And so if we can innovate to that extent with the cricket, you know, we're starting on a higher step and we can get it even further and even more sustainable. So that's sort of where we're looking to go. And as far as size, I mean, I would love to be the, you know, Tyson Foods of crickets. It'd be great, you know. Yeah, Lauren.
What's your favorite cricket meal?
Ooh, lately I've enjoyed lettuce wraps with sriracha, crickets, rice, and some like fresh pepper or other vegetables. That's a pretty good one. Hot sauce and crickets are a great combination. Yeah?
Why crickets as opposed to any other bug?
One exciting thing is that they don't fly, so that's like the crickets versus anything that flies success story. And then they're kind of cute. I mean, they're not like a creepy crawly worm. They're just this little, you know, bug that's relatively easy to grow and has a really neutral flavor. You dry it out and it doesn't taste like a whole lot, so it's a really versatile product. So that's sort of something that's, you know, relatively easy to grow and pretty applicable to any sort of dietary situation. Yeah.
What's the FDA product? So you can't just sell this to a car manufacturer that puts it in without telling you.
Yeah, right now the main thing is that you have to name the species on the label, and then it says like cricket protein powder. It's not grass certified yet, because all of the businesses are small, and the instant someone does GRAS certification, it applies to anyone who's making a cricket protein powder. So it's a tragedy of the commons. Anybody could, it costs a lot of money to do it. But yeah, as far as, we're sort of in this weird regulatory limbo where it hasn't been certified by the FDA, but we're like very proactive and super clean and doing everything and being in constant contact with the health department and things like that, but there hasn't been like any regulatory movement because, you know, if I went to my congressperson and said, hey, you should make a cricket bill, they'd probably laugh me out of their office.
But it's required to be labeled.
Yeah, you have to name the species and say that it's in the product. Yeah. Are we out of time?
One more
All right.
question.
Oh, yep, sure.
So, percentage value-wise, cow versus cricket.
Yeah.
The protein amount in those two.
Yeah, you eat the whole cricket, and the cricket, I mean, in terms of weight, it's 66% water, and then the rest of that, and then a third of what's left over is fat, so, and then the rest of that is protein, as far as body weight, if you want to do that math real fast. But like a cow, you have offal, you have the skin, you have all of these other things that you don't eat, whereas the cricket, you eat the entire product. So we're getting a lot more efficiency by grinding it into a powder and using that entire body weight instead of having to, you know, you can't eat the bones of a cow, you can't eat the skin, you can't eat the fur, you can't, you know, there's like, well, yeah, you can, but we don't.
Great.
Yeah.